Okay, now we want to see on how to graph function of two independent variables. So it's actually the easy one, because before this we learned about how to graph the function with two variables x and y. Is easy. It might be the linear function, it might be the quadratic, it might be a cubic function. But now we want to see on how to graph the function of two independent variables. Means it involves three variables. Okay, so usually it will be x, y, and z. So before this, in previous chapter, we also see on a few examples to graph when it's involved the 3D space. So now we want to see a few when it's involved the function of two variables, which actually it have one dependent variables and two independent variables. So function of one independent variables are graphed by using an x-axis and y-axis to locate points on plane. So if you have the function of one variable, it's actually involve two axes only, x and y. But in order to graph a function of two independent variables, we need a third axis, which is z-axis. So when it's involved the function of two variables, means it will be involved three axes, which is the surface x, y, and z. So if you have been asked to sketch the graph of x plus 3y plus 2z equal to 12, for example, so how can you do is, the easiest one is to find the axis-intercept. You can find the x-intercept, you can find the y-intercept, and you can find the z-intercept. So how can we find the axis-intercept? If the point is on the z-axis, if the point is fall on the z-axis, means that we only have the value of z. The value of the other variable will be equal to 0. So x equal to 0, y also equal to 0. Okay, so we let x equal to 0, y equal to 0. In this function, you will have 0 plus 0 plus 2z equal to 12. So you only have with 2z equal to 12. So you have the z is equal to 6. Means that for this function, the z-intercept is equal to 6. So you have 1. Okay, and then you do the same, you find the y-intercept. So at y-intercept, the value of x and z is 0. So this one is 0, this one is 0. So you left only with 3y equal to 12. So y equal to 4. Means your y-intercept is equal to 4. So the point is lies on the y-axis. And the same goes to x-axis. You want to find the value of point on the x-axis, means the value of y and z is equal to 0. So y and z equal to 0. So you left with x equal to 12. So that one is the point on the x-axis. So now you just sambungkan, connect all the points. That is the z-intercept, y-intercept, and x-intercept. Then you have plot the function of two variables. That one is one of the way. Alright, sketch the graph of the function sec 25 minus x square minus y square. So the function can be rewritten as z equal to 25 minus x square minus y square. Why? Because we know that this function involves three axes. So you have x here, you have y here. So the one that you don't have is z. So this one is actually the function of z. So now you have z equal to sec 25 minus x square y square. And previously we have seen that this one will give us the hemisphere. Okay, this one, it will give us the hemisphere. Because the formula of sphere is z square plus x square plus y square is equal to r square. Okay, so when we remove all these to the right, we will have z square equal to r square minus x square minus y square. Then z is equal to sec r square minus x square minus y square plus minus. And because of this one is positive, mean is will be above at the z-axis. Okay, so how can you find the value of x and y intercept and also the z intercept? Is the same way. Okay, we let the value of x and y to be equal to 0. So you will have sec 25 here. Okay, so you have your radius at z is 5. So so at x equal to 0, so you will have the value of y and z is equal to 5 also. Okay, because that one is the radius of the sphere. The radius of the sphere is actually, we don't need to think, because the radius means every axis is the same. Okay, when we talk about sphere, the radius means every axis is the same. We just need to know that the location is at the z-axis above because it's positive. So this one is the graph. Okay. So now we want to move to limits and continuity. So this one is the basic knowledge or basic notes that you need to know before we go to the partial derivative. So class, we know that we can find the limit of the function. Before this, if we have the function with two variables, for example, we have y and x. Okay, we have the function in terms of x, we have fx. Okay, this one is x, this one is fx, or also y. Okay, let's say we have a function, a linear function. And this function, we want to find the limit of this function at point x equal to 4, for example. This one is x equal to 4. We want to find what is the limit of this function. It's actually the value, but it's not an exact value. It's estimate value. Okay, so what is the limit of this function when x is equal to 4 or when x is approaching 4? So how you find the limit of this function is you need to find the limit from the left and the limit from the right, where the limit x approaching 4 from the right of the function fx is denoted like this. 4 plus means 4 from the right. And you also have the limit of the function fx when x approaching 4 from the left is 4 negative. So what you need to do is you need to find the limit of function f from the right and the limit of function f from the left. Is it the same value or not? If it's not the same value, okay, you will conclude that the limit of the function fx, x approaching to 4 is not exist, for example. Okay, only if you get the value from the left and the value from the right is equal, then your function has the limit. So this one is when you have the two variables, which is x and y, we learned before. Now we want to see about the general limits of function of two variables. How if you have the variables, the function that involve two variables, mean you have dealing with three variables x, y, and z. So how can you find the function of two variable limit, the limit for the function of two variables? Okay, so in general is actually, okay, limit of the function fxy, this one is the function of two variable, for the value of x and y approaching a, b, means the value of x approaching a, the value of y approaching b, we denote is as L, which is the limit. Okay, if before this, when we are dealing with two axes only, okay, when we are dealing with two axes only, the limit of the function that approaching this point is only from left and is only from right. There is only two direction. But when we are dealing with three variables, okay, the function of two variables is actually include three variables, involve three variables. If you have the function of xy, means it's in the space which have the x-axis, y-axis, and also z-axis. Therefore, you cannot say that the direction only come from the right and only come from the left. It might come from here, it might come from here, it might come from here, because it's a space. You imagine one ball floating. Okay, so the direction approaching that ball can be in many directions because it involves space. If it only involves plane, which is x and y axis, it will come only from the right and also from the left. But when it involves space, okay, the ball will be floating. So when we talk about the direction approaching the ball, the direction will be from the left, from the right, from the back, from the front, and also all the angle that we can reach the ball. Okay, so for the limit of the function of two or more variables, okay, to find the limit is not only find the limit from the left, from the right, and we conclude that the limit is exist or not exist as before this, but we need to do more work. Okay, so we need to find the limit along the path. If you see here, okay, it's not written the z axis here, we have z axis here. If you see here, we can say that this path or this line is actually floating because it involves space. Okay, so if we take one point on the line, on this line, 1 point, we want to find the limit that approaching this point. The limit might come from the left, from the right, and also from all the direction here because it involves surface. Okay, it involves surface. We can see it from the back, we can see it from the front, we can see it from the left, from the right, and all the angles around the point. Okay, so for function of two variables, in order the limits to be exist, the function must approach the same value regardless of the path that we consider as xy move in towards AB. So untuk kita make sure yang limit exist untuk function yang melibatkan two or more variables, or in other words, or in easy words, is function that involve space, we need to make sure that all the limit yang datang daripada kiri, kanan, depan, belakang, and all the angles is the same. If we can find two different paths along which fxy has different limit, then limit fxy xy approaching AB does not exist. If ada path, ada laluan-laluan dia yang menghasilkan limit yang berbeza, makanya kita boleh conclude yang limit kita tu tak exist. Jadi how to choose the path for limit x y approaching A and B? So the easiest one is to use the value of xa and yb. Okay, we will substitute when x is equal to A, so we will substitute the value of A in the function, and we will find the value of the limit when y approaching B. Okay, and the first thing that we need to do is we need to substitute first the value of A and B inside the function, and we can see either the function is defined or undefined, and then we will proceed with the choosing of the path. So let's see the example here. Show that the limit xy approaching 0, 0 for the function 2x square minus y square divided by x square plus y square does not exist. Okay, so dia suruh kita tunjukkan limit untuk function 2x square minus y square divided by x square plus y square tidak exist. So this one is the function of two variables. Okay, so for the function of two variables, we need to choose two paths. Okay, so the path one that you want to choose is the along the y-axis, okay, where the value of x equal to 0. Before that, you need to substitute the value of x and y here. I'm sorry for the sound of raining because now I'm in Ursus, so I need to find the place to record the video. So the available place in my car, but it's raining day, so you have to hear the rain sound. Okay, anggaplah music background kita. So sekarang ni kita nak cari value ataupun limit. So the first thing yang you need to do is you need to masukkan dulu nilai x and y kita ni ke dalam kita punya function. Okay, so bila kita masukkan ke dalam kita punya function, if you substitute, okay, you will get 2 0 square minus 0 square divided by 0 square plus 0 square. You will get 0 over 0. So this one is undefined condition. So when you get this one, means you need to check the path. You need to check the path. Okay, you need to use the path 1 and path 2 to find the limit of your function. So the path 1 that you can use is the value when the value of x is equal to 0. So what you need to do is you just need to substitute the value of x equal to 0 inside this function. So this one is equal to 0, so you left only negative y square over y square. This one is wrong, this one should be y. Okay, now you want to find the limit of this function, but this function can be simplified. It will be equal to negative 1, means that the limit of this when x approaching 0, 0 is equal to negative 1. Okay, and then we find the limit when the value of y equal to 0. This one is the second part. We just need to take the value of y here. So we substitute the value of y equal to 0. So this one is 0, this one is 0. So you left only the limit, this one is x approaching 0 for 2x squared over x squared. So this one also can be simplified. So it left only 2. So because of this path and this path show the value of limit is different, so we no need for us to find another path, another value. Okay, path can be anything that relate to the function. Okay, but because of we have shown that these two paths have different value, we can just conclude that the limit for this function when x and y approaching 0, 0 is not exist. Okay, sebenarnya kita kena cari limit untuk banyak path. Tapi kita dah dapat jumpa dah, dua path pun dah berbeza. Makanya macam mana kita nak conclude yang kita ada limit. Sedangkan untuk kita conclude yang function itu ada limit, semua path, semua direction yang menghampiri that point mesti memberi value yang sama. Sekarang kita baru check dua pun dah berbeza. Maka we can conclude that approaching 0, 0 on two different paths that approach different values. Thus, the limit of this function for x and y approaching 0, 0 is not exist. Okay, let's see another example. Determine whether limit xy over x squared plus y squared for the value of x and y approaching 0, 0 is exist or not. Okay, is exist or not. Okay, if we substitute the value of x and y equal to 0 kat sini, you will get 0 multiply by 0 divide by 0 square plus 0 square, right? Okay, so you will get 0 over 0. So this one is undefined. So when it's undefined, you need to find the value of path 1 and path 2. Okay, let's say this one terbalik. Kita tengok yang ni dulu. Kita let that the value of y is equal to 0 dulu. So if we let the value of y equal to 0, so this one will be 0. X darab dengan 0, atas dia 0. Kosong square tambah, sorry, y equal to 0, right? Kosong square tambah y square. So bawahnya ada y square, tapi disebabkan atas ni kosong bahagi dengan y square, we get 0. Okay, so macam example sebelum ni, kita choose y equal to 0, lepas tu kita choose x equal to 0. Tapi untuk function yang ini, kalau kita choose x equal to 0 pula, dia akan samalah macam ni. Sebab dia darab kat atas ni kan. So kalau kita pilih pula x equal to 0, kita tetap akan dapat 0. So adakah kita nak conclude yang dia punya limit tu sama? Tidak. We need to find another path. So how to find another path? You see at the function here, what is the substitution that make the function simpler? That make you can simplify the function. Let's say I want to substitute the y with x. So I make the path to be y equal to x. When I make the path to be y equal to x, I will substitute the value of y here is equal to x. So what you will get? X multiplied by x divided by x square plus x square. So you make this function is simpler. It will be x square over x square plus x square is 2x square, and then you can simplify, you will get 1 over 2. So you see, if you substitute just now, the first one is substitute y equal to 0. If you substitute x equal to 0, you will get 0, 0, and then you will conclude the limit exists, because you get both equal to 0. Actually, there is a path that show the value of limit is not 0, is 1 over 2. Okay, because the path tu banyak. Tak semestinya dua path je, x0, y0, dia ada another path. Jadi kita buktikan yang another path ni bagi value yang bukan kosong, maka disebabkan oleh limit dia tidak sama, we can conclude that the limit doesn't exist. So you need to play around. Okay, so if you see that the value is equal, you need to find another path. Okay, before you can conclude the value is exist. Okay, and how to find another path? You just see at the function here. How can you make this function simpler? And then you can substitute the value and you make it as a path. Okay? Okay, let's see another example here. Okay, this one is similar. Okay, this one is similar with the previous one. Okay, let's see. Determine whether the limit of the function xy square over x square plus y to the power of 4 exists or not. Okay, so kita disuruh untuk cari adakah limit untuk function ini apabila nilai x dan y menghampiri kosong exist ataupun tidak. Jadi macam mana kita nak cari dia exist ataupun tidak? Okay, kita kena masukkan dulu nilai x and y equal to 0. Masukkan dulu. So when you substitute the value of x and y equal to 0 inside the function, okay, you will get 0 over 0. So this one is undefined. So when it is undefined, you need to find two paths. At least two paths. Kenapa saya kata at least two paths? Kerana sebenarnya path dia banyak. As I mentioned before. Okay, the direction is come around the point. Okay, so dia banyak. Okay, jadi kita ambil dua je. Kita buktikan yang dua ni tak sama and then we can conclude that the limit doesn't exist. Okay, the first thing yang kita boleh ambil yang paling senang adalah either kita let y equal to 0 atau x equal to 0. Katakan kita ambil y equal to 0 dulu. So when we let y equal to 0 means this one is equal to 0, right? So x multiply by 0, you get 0. And this one is equal to 0, so your denominator only left with x square. So 0 divided by x square, you get the first limit is 0. If we choose x equal to 0 pula, tadi kita ganti y equal to 0. Kalau kita nak ambil x equal to 0 pula, we actually do the same thing. Kerana dekat atas ni darab. So awak tengok, kalau awak ganti pula x ni equal to 0, awak tetap dapat yang atas ni kosong. Kosong bahagilah dengan apa-apa pun awak akan dapat kosong. But doesn't it means that your limit exists and the value of 0? No, because you need to check another path. Okay, because this one memanglah you akan dapat kosong sebab atas ni darab. Kalau you substitute x kosong, y kosong, memang kosong lah kan. Okay, so we need to think. So sekarang kita kena buat some substitution. So apa substitution yang memudahkan kerja kita? So you see here, okay, you can substitute the value of x equal to y square. So this equation can be simplified because y kat bawah ni y kuasa 4, y tu yang besar. So kita substitute nilai x tu dengan y square. So apa yang you akan dapat? Nilai x kat atas ni kita substitute dengan y square. So you will get y square multiply by y square divide by y square square. Kita ganti x dengan y square. So kat luar ni ada square plus ny4. So y square darab dengan y square is y to the power of 4. This one is y to the power of 4 tambah dengan y to the power of 4. So you have 2y to the power of 4 and you can simplify. It will give you 1 over 2. So another path give you limit of the function is 1 over 2. So we cannot conclude that the limit exists because the first limit is 0. The second limit is 1 over 2. It's not equal. So when you can show that two paths give you the different limit for the function, so we can conclude that the limit of this function when x and y approaching 0, 0 does not exist. Okay, so this is how you want to show or you want to determine the value of the limit when it's involved the function of two variables. So it's more complicated compared to the function of one variables. Okay, so you can see this example I give you in the notes. Okay, you can see this example. And also you can try the exercise on the finding the limit. So I will give you the answer right after this video. Alright.